On the night of my wedding rehearsal, my mom pulled me aside and confessed something about my childhood that instantly made me question whether the man walking me down the aisle was even my real father. I was adjusting my tie in the church bathroom when Mom cornered me, her face pale as, 24 hours before I was supposed to marry Sarah, the woman who'd stuck by me through law school, unemployment, and my dad's cancer scare. The woman I'd been cheating on for 3 months with her maid of honor. "Jake, we need to talk," Mom whispered, glancing around like she was about to confess to. About father. About when we're born. I should have been thinking about tomorrow's ceremony. Instead, I was thinking about how Melissa's lips tasted like strawberry lip gloss and poor decisions, how we'd been sneaking around since Sarah's bachelorette party planning started, telling ourselves it was just stress relief. Just something that would end after the wedding. "Mom, can this wait? Sarah's probably wondering where I am." She grabbed my arm harder than she'd ever grab at anything. "Father," the man called Dad. He might not be biological father. The words hit me like a freight train, but not as hard as the realization that I was about to destroy the best woman I'd ever known. Not as hard as knowing that while Sarah was probably in the bridal suite texting her parents about how excited she was, I was carrying the weight of betraying her with someone she trusted completely. What do you mean might not be? My voice cracked like I was 13 again. Mom's eyes filled with tears. I had an affair. Right before we're conceived, with father's brother Uncle Rick, the man who taught me to throw a football, who'd given me my first, who'd be walking Sarah's mom down the aisle tomorrow since her dad passed away last year. Jesus Christ, Mom. I never told anyone. Father, Dad, he never suspected, but Jake looked so much like Rick. Especially as gotten older. The nose, the waist and even laugh. I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror. The same face that had lied to Sarah about working late when I was really in a hotel room with Melissa. The same mouth that had whispered "I love" to my fiancé while tasting like another woman's skin. Does Dad know? No. God, no. It would destroy him, destroy everything. Everything was already destroyed. She just didn't know it yet. The bathroom door opened and my best man, Tyler, stuck his head in. "They're looking for a photo start in 10. I nodded, but my legs felt like jello. "Mom, we can't do this now. We have to. Because if Rick is father, then," she paused, her face going even whiter. "Then what doing with Melissa is even worse than I thought." My went cold. What are talking about? I saw too. Last week coming out of the Hampton Inn. I followed there because I was worried about acting strange. "Jake, if Rick is father, then Melissa is cousin." The room started spinning. Melissa wasn't just Sarah's best friend since college, she was Uncle Rick's daughter. The girl I'd been telling was just a mistake, was potentially my half-sister. That's impossible, is it? Think about it. The timing adds, we're both born 9 months after Rick and I. She couldn't finish the sentence. I gripped the sink so hard my knuckles went white. 3 months of sneaking around. 3 months of telling it was just cold feet about marriage. 3 months of the most intense, reckless of my with a woman who might share my DNA. Mom, or wrong have to, I hope I am. God, I pray I am. But Jake, need to end whatever this is with Melissa. Tonight, before tomorrow happens. Tyler knocked again. "Seriously, man. Sarah's asking for a bot." "Come in," I called out, my voice barely steady. Mom grabbed my face in her hands. "Promise me you'll end it. Promise me you'll marry Sarah and never speak of this again." I promised, but promises from cheaters are worth about as much as the vows I'd be reciting tomorrow. Because standing there in that church bathroom, looking at the man in the mirror who might not be my father's son, all I could think about was how Melissa's hair smelled like vanilla and how she'd whispered that she loved me last Tuesday night. The rehearsal dinner was a blur of toasts and laughter. Sarah glowed like she always did, talking about our future kids and the house we'd buy and how grateful she was to have found her person. Her person who was texting her maid of honor under the table asking to meet later. Rick gave a speech about family and loyalty. About how marriage was sacred and how a man's word was everything. He looked right at me when he said it, and I swear I saw my own eyes looking back. That night I was supposed to stay at Tyler's place. Bachelor party tradition. Instead I drove to the hotel where Melissa was staying with the other bridesmaids. I told I was going there to end it, to confess everything and beg Sarah's forgiveness. But when Melissa opened the door in that silk nightgown, all my noble intentions evaporated. She pulled me inside and me like the world was ending. Which, in a way it was. "Tomorrow's the last time," she whispered against my neck. "After the wedding, we can't do this anymore." "I know," I said, but my hands were already pulling off her nightgown. We made love like people who were about to. Desperate and hungry and completely lost in each other. I told it didn't matter what Mom had said. That DNA tests weren't 100% accurate anyway. That Uncle Rick couldn't be my father because that would make this whole thing too sick, too wrong, too much like a horror movie. But when I looked down at Melissa's face in the moonlight, I saw my own chin. My own stubborn cowlick. Features I'd always assumed came from Mom's side of the family. "Jake," she whispered afterward, tracing circles on my chest. "What if we didn't go through with tomorrow? What if we just ran away together? Don't talk crazy. I'm serious. I've never felt anything like this have. Even with Sarah." The honest answer was no. Sarah was comfort and stability and everything a smart man should want. Melissa was chaos and fire and everything that destroyed good men, but the chemistry between us was undeniable, impossible to ignore. Sarah loved to. And loved me. I know do. She was right. I did love her, which made everything so much worse. I left at 3 a.m., driving through empty streets back to Tyler's place. He was passed out on the couch, bachelor party debris scattered around the living room. I sat in his bathroom and stared at my phone for an hour, my finger hovering over Sarah's name. I could call her. Tell her everything, cancel the wedding, face the music like a man. Instead I turned off my phone and tried to sleep. I stood at the altar watching Sarah walk down the aisle, and she had never looked more beautiful. Her dress was perfect, her smile was radiant, and in that moment I understood exactly what I was about to destroy. Behind her Melissa walked as maid of honor in that blush pink dress we'd picked out together. Our eyes met for half a second and I saw the same panic I was feeling. We were really going through with this charade. The ceremony was, every word the pastor spoke about fidelity and honor felt like a twisting in my gut. When he asked if anyone had any reason why Sarah and I shouldn't be married, I actually held my breath. Part of me hoped someone would stand and stop this train wreck. Nobody did. Do Jake, take Sarah to be lawfully wedded wife to have and to hold, in sickness and in health, for better or for worse, as long as both shall live. I do. The lie came out smooth as silk. Sarah's vows were everything. She talked about how I made her feel safe, how she couldn't wait to build a family with me, how she knew in her heart that I would never her. I cried real tears because I knew what was coming. We and everyone cheered. Rice flew through the air. The photographer captured every magical moment. Sarah whispered "I love, husband," in my ear, and I died a little inside. The reception was held at the country club where Sarah and I had our first date. She'd wanted everything perfect, down to the centerpieces that matched her grandmother's china. I gave a speech about how lucky I was, how Sarah was my best friend and soulmate. The crowd ate it. During the father-daughter dance I watched Sarah dance with her stepfather while tears streamed down both their faces. Her real dad would have loved this moment. Would have loved seeing his little girl so happy. Would have probably the out of me if he knew what I'd done. Then came my dance with Mom. She held me tight and whispered, "Did the right thing. Everything will be okay now." But it wouldn't be okay. Because during the toasts, when Melissa stood to speak as maid of honor, she looked directly at me and said, "Sarah, found a man who will love exactly the way deserve to be loved, who will never betray that trust." The words hit like bullets. The guests thought it was sweet. I knew it was her way of twisting the worst part was how perfect Sarah was all night. She laughed at everyone's jokes, thanked every guest personally, and kept reaching for my hand like she couldn't believe she got to keep me forever. During our first dance, she pressed her face against my chest and said, "This is the happiest day of mine too." I lied. Around midnight, most of the older guests had left. The younger crowd was getting and dancing to music that was too loud. Sarah was in the bathroom touching her makeup, and Melissa cornered me near the bar. "We need to talk." "There's nothing to talk about. It's over, has it?" Because the way looked at me during the ceremony sure didn't feel like it was over. She was right. Even standing next to my new wife, all I could think about was Melissa. About how she felt in my arms. About how we fit together like puzzle pieces. My mom thinks. I started then stopped. I couldn't tell her about the Uncle Rick thing. Couldn't voice that particular nightmare. Thinks what? Nothing. "Jakey, look at me." She grabbed my arm. "I know this is complicated. I know we both care about Sarah. But what we have, it's real. It's not going away just 'cause said some vows." Sarah appeared beside us glowing and perfect. "What are two talking about so seriously?" "I was just telling new husband how lucky he is," Melissa said without missing a. "The luckiest." Sarah agreed, kissing my cheek, "Although I think I'm the lucky one." She had no idea she just married a man who was in love with two women. One who deserved the world, and one who might be his cousin. The night ended with Sarah and me in the honeymoon suite. She changed into white lingerie that probably cost more than my first car. She looked like an angel and I felt like the devil. We made love, but it felt like I was betraying both women. When Sarah whispered how much she loved me, I heard Melissa's voice. When she told me she couldn't wait to start our family, I thought about the conversation I'd had with Mom in the bathroom. Afterward, Sarah fell asleep curled against my chest, trusting and content. I stared at the ceiling until dawn, knowing I just made the biggest mistake of the honeymoon in Maui was supposed to be paradise. Sarah had planned every detail from the oceanfront suite to the sunset dinners to the couple's massage. She was so excited to finally be alone with me, to start our married properly. I tried to be present, tried to focus on my wife and forget about everything else, but Melissa was texting me. Nothing explicit, just little messages that felt like emotional time bombs. "Hope we're having fun in paradise. Saw the photos Sarah posted, both look happy. I miss thy." I should have blocked her number, should have confessed everything to Sarah right there on the beach. Instead I texted back, "Miss too." Sarah found the text thread on our fourth day. I'd been careless, left my phone on the bathroom counter while I was in the shower. When I came out, she was sitting on the bed holding it, her face completely white. Her voice was barely a whisper. "What is this?" I wrapped a towel around my waist and tried to think of an explanation that wouldn't destroy everything. But there wasn't one. "Sarah, I can explain." "Explain what?" "That been texting my best friend while we're on our honeymoon. That miss her." She scrolled through the messages and I watched her face crumble as she saw the pattern. Late night texts. Inside jokes. The kind of familiarity that only comes from intimacy. "How long?" she'd ask. "Sarah, oblong." She screamed it this time, and I'd never heard my wife raise her voice before. 3 months. She my phone across the room. It hit the wall and shattered, pieces of glass and plastic scattering across the marble floor. 3 months. Our entire engagement. While I was planning our art ring, while I was writing my vows about trusting completely. That didn't mean anything. Don't dare lie to me anymore. Sarah never cursed. In 4 years together, I'd maybe heard her say twice. But she was cursing now, and somehow that made it worse. Did sleep with her. I could have lied. Should have lied. But looking at Sarah's face, seeing the hope mixed with the horror, I couldn't do it anymore. Yes. She made a sound like she'd been punched in the stomach. Like the air had been knocked out of her completely. "Where?" "Sarah, please don't do this to buy." "When and where, Jake? I need to know." "Hotels. Her apartment when we're working late, once at our house. In our bed. The guest room." She laughed, but it was the most broken sound I'd ever heard. "Oh, well, that makes it so much better. My husband only my best friend in the guest room. How considerate. Sorry." "God, Sarah, I'm so sorry." "Sorry did it, or sorry got caught?" I didn't have an answer for that. She started packing, throwing clothes into her suitcase with shaking hands. "I'm going home." "Sarah, wait, we can work through this. Couples therapy, whatever want." She stopped packing and looked at me like I was insane. "Work through this." Cheated on me with my maid of honor. During our engagement. While I was planning our wedding. While I was trusting with my entire future. I know it's bad, but people come back from this. We can come back from this. With Melissa. My best friend since college. The person I told everything to. The person who helped me pick out my wedding dress. The reality of what I'd done was starting to hit me. This wasn't just cheating. This was a complete betrayal of two people who'd loved me more than I deserved. She was planning to be my children's godmother, Jake. I was going to ask her to be in the delivery room when we had babies. And the whole time, she was sleeping with my fiancé. Sarah collapsed on the bed, sobbing so hard her whole body shook. I reached for her and she flinched away like I'd burned her. Don't touch me. Don't ever touch me again. She finished packing through her tears. I tried to help and she screamed at me to stay away. When she was done, she looked at me one last time. I hope she was worth it. I hope destroying our marriage and our friendship and our entire future was worth whatever got from her. Then she was gone, and I was alone in paradise with nothing but the wreckage of my choices. Sarah filed for divorce before I even got home from Maui. Her lawyer called while I was sitting in the airport. Still wearing my honeymoon clothes, still smelling like tropical flowers and betrayal. Mrs. Coleman would like to make this as painless as possible. He said in that cold, professional voice lawyers use when they're about to She's prepared to waive alimony in exchange for a quick, quiet dissolution. Sarah wanted nothing from me. Not money, not property, not explanations. She just wanted me gone from her as completely as possible. Somehow that worse than if she'd tried to take everything. I flew home to an empty house that still smelled like wedding flowers. Sarah had already been there. Her clothes were gone from our closet, her toiletries cleared from our bathroom. She'd left her engagement ring and wedding band on my pillow, along with a note that said simply, "Don't contact me." The hardest part was telling people. Our families, our friends, everyone who'd celebrated with us just a week earlier. Most people assumed I'd cheated, but they thought it was with some random woman. A one-night stand maybe. Something forgivable. The truth was so much worse. Tyler was the first person I told the whole story. We were at a bar downtown, and I was 3 beers deep when I finally let it all spill out. About Melissa, about the timeline, about how I'd looked Sarah in the eye and promised to forsake all others while I was sleeping with her best friend. Jesus, Jake, with Melissa. Sarah's maid of honor. I know how it sounds. Because it sounds like you're a sociopath. That word hit me harder than any punch could have. Sociopath. Someone without empathy or conscience. Someone who could destroy 2 women who loved him and still sleep at night. I didn't mean for it to happen. Didn't accidentally trip and fall into her for 3 months. Made choices. Every single day chose to betray Sarah. He was right. I'd told it was just physical, just stress, just something that would end after the wedding. But the truth was, I'd chosen Melissa over Sarah every single time I'd had the chance to stop. What about the thing with Mom, about Uncle Rick? I told Tyler about Mom's confession too, about the possibility that Rick was my biological father. It was eating at me. The idea that I might have been sleeping with my half-sister. Mom won't talk about it now. Says it doesn't matter anymore. Need to get a DNA test. And what if it's true? What if Rick is my father and Melissa is my cousin, not sister? Rick is Dad's brother, not Mom's, right, cousin, cause that made it so much better. The worst part was how the news spread. Sarah told her family the truth about why our marriage ended, and her sister told her husband, and he told his brother, and pretty soon everyone knew. My law firm knew. My college friends knew. The guys I played basketball with on Thursday nights knew. I became that guy. The one people pointed to as an example of how not to live. The cautionary tale parents would tell their sons about integrity and keeping word. Melissa tried to reach out after Sarah contact with both of us. She wanted to meet to talk about what had happened and figure out where we stood. But the magic was gone. Whatever chemistry we'd had felt tainted now, poisoned by the wreckage we'd left behind. I never meant for Sarah to get, she said when we met for coffee 3 weeks after the honeymoon disaster. Neither did I, but she did get we destroyed her. So what now? We just pretend this never happened. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Melissa looked different. Smaller somehow. The confidence that had drawn me to her was gone, replaced by guilt and regret that mirrored my own. I lost my best friend, she said quietly. Sarah won't even look at me. 20 years of friendship gone. We both lost her. Do regret it, all of it. I thought about that question for a long time. Did I regret the affair? Yes. Did I regret Sarah? Absolutely. Did I regret the destruction we'd caused? Of course. But did I regret Melissa herself, the way she'd made me feel, the connection we'd shared? I regret how it happened, I said finally. I regret the timing and the lies and the way we handled everything. But I can't regret that. She started crying then, right there in the coffee shop. I think I love Jake. I think I've loved since college, since before Sarah even introduced us. But I can't be with someone who destroyed my best friends for me. That was the last time I saw Melissa. She moved to Portland a month later, started fresh somewhere Sarah would never have to accidentally run into her. She sent me her new address but I never visited. The divorce was finalized 4 months after our wedding. Sarah kept her maiden name in the paperwork, like our marriage had never existed at all. I signed everything without reading it, partly because I owed her that much, and partly because seeing her name on legal documents felt like getting stabbed in the chest. I never did get that DNA test. Mom refused to discuss it further, and Uncle Rick. Well, Uncle Rick stopped speaking to me entirely after he found out what had happened. Whether he was protecting his daughter or his brother, or just couldn't stand to look at me anymore, I never knew. The hardest part was the loneliness. Not just being single again, but being off from everyone who'd mattered. Sarah's family had been my family for 4 years, her friends had been my friends. Her world had been my world. Now I was starting over at 32, trying to rebuild from nothing. Dating felt impossible. How to explain to someone new that her divorced because cheated on wife with her best friend at own wedding? How to convince someone to trust when can't even trust? I tried therapy for a while. Dr. Martinez was a kind woman who specialized in infidelity recovery, and she helped me understand some of the psychology behind my choices. Childhood abandonment issues, fear of commitment. Self-sabotage patterns that I'd been carrying for years without realizing it. But understanding why did something doesn't undo the damage. It doesn't bring back the people lost or repair the trust of broken. It just helps live with, which sometimes feels like the least deserve. A year after the divorce, I ran into Sarah's sister at the grocery store. Emma had always liked me, had told Sarah I was a good guy worth keeping. Seeing her face when she recognized me was like watching someone step in dog. Jake, she said my name like it tasted bad. Emma, how is Sarah? Don't get to ask about Sarah anymore. Lost that right when decided to her best friend. Emma had inherited Sarah's sense of loyalty but not her kindness. She stood there in the cereal aisle and let me have it with both barrels. She loved more than anything in this world. She used to call me crying because she was so happy, so grateful that she'd found someone she could trust completely. Each word was designed to and they did their job perfectly. Do know she blamed herself at first. Wondered what she'd done wrong, why she wasn't enough for. It took months of therapy for her to understand that this was about character, not her worth. I never wanted to her. But did her. Destroyed her ability to trust anyone. She hasn't dated since the divorce, hasn't even been on a single date, because every time she thinks about opening her heart to someone, she remembers what did. That information hit me like a punch to the solar plexus. Sarah, who'd always been social and outgoing and full of, was now too broken to even try dating. Because of me. Because of what I'd done to her faith in people. I hope think about that every single day. Emma said. I hope remember that didn't just cheat on Sarah. Broke something inside her that might never heal. She walked away without another word, leaving me standing there surrounded by boxes of cereal and the weight of what I'd destroyed. 2 years later I'm still single. Still rebuilding. Still carrying the guilt of what I did to two women who deserve so much better. I've had a few dates but nothing serious. How can build something real with someone new when you're still haunted by how completely destroyed something real with someone else? I heard through mutual acquaintances that Sarah eventually started dating again. Someone she met through work apparently. A good guy who treats her well and doesn't carry the kind of baggage that destroys marriages. I'm happy for her, genuinely, even though it feels like swallowing glass. Melissa never moved back to town. Last I heard she was engaged to someone in Portland. Someone who doesn't know about our history, I assume. Someone who gets to love her without the shadow of what we did over everything. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd been honest from the beginning. If I'd broken with Sarah before anything happened with Melissa. If I'd handled everything like a grown man instead of a coward. Maybe we'd all be happier now. Maybe Sarah would still trust people. Maybe Melissa would still have her best friend. Maybe I wouldn't wake every morning knowing I'm the villain in multiple people's stories. But I can't change the past. Can't undo the choices that led me here. Can't take back the lies or betrayal or the night I stood in a church and promised to be faithful, while I was already planning my next rendezvous with my fiancé's best friend. All I can do is try to be better. Try to learn from the wreckage I created. Try to make sure that the next woman who trusts me with her heart won't end like Sarah, broken and betrayed and unable to believe in love anymore. But late at night, when the guilt gets too heavy and the loneliness too sharp, I remember what Emma said in that grocery store. About how I'd broken something inside Sarah that might never heal. About how she blamed herself at first, wondered what she'd done wrong, and I realized that some mistakes don't get forgiven. Some damage doesn't get repaired. Some choices follow forever, like scars that never fade or wounds that never quite stop bleeding. I chose 3 months of passion over a lifetime of love, and now I get to live with that choice every single day. The worst part isn't the loneliness or the guilt, or even the knowledge that I destroyed 2 beautiful relationships for something that couldn't survive the light of day. The worst part is knowing that somewhere out there, Sarah still flinches when someone says they love her, still wonders if the people closest to her are capable of the same betrayal I committed. That every time she thinks about trusting someone completely, she remembers the night her husband and best friend decided she wasn't worth their loyalty. I turned a love story into a cautionary tale, and the moral is simple: when have everything, don't throw it away for nothing, because nothing is exactly what'll be left with.